Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, Steeler fans, to another great episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with J-Dash, JK47, and Big Easy. We got our Steeler pregame show going for you this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers home opener is on Sunday. They take on the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are a team in flux, losing 11 starters, I believe it is, from last year's team. A lot of them on defense. A lot of people thought they would have no shot, and then they went out and smoked, Minnesota last night?
Please believe they shut Adrian Peterson in that run game down.
Of course they did, because he's on my fantasy team.
He only had 31 yards rushing. They only gave him the ball 10 times on the ground, though. But they held Minnesota to 71 yards rushing in that game, a 4.2-yard average. And, I mean, the passing game wasn't that great for Minnesota either. Just 231 yards passing by Bridgewater, 177 total, because San Francisco came up with 5 sacks in that game.
San Francisco has the number one defense according to points per game in the league. Because they only gave up 3 in 1 week, so.
Please believe.
Stat really means nothing.
Yeah, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are also not the Minnesota Vikings, and I expect this offense to look better this week. We seen last week they could move the ball down the field at will, but they just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, and I expect them to do that this week.
We've seen what Pittsburgh can do at home last year in that 3-game span where Ben Roethlisberger just went nuts. Threw for 500 yards and like 52 touchdowns in a 3-game span. So the Niners better be prepared. Just because we don't have Bryant and Bell, he's still going to be going crazy out there. He always plays well at home. He's going to spread the ball around to Brown, to Heath. D'Angelo Williams should play well again. I know San Francisco has a good defense, but I think Pittsburgh's offensive line is still a good offensive line, even without Maurkice Pouncey. I don't think we lost anything in the run game. I think Pouncey's advantage over Cody Wallace was in the passing game, albeit a huge advantage because Pouncey's one of the best centers in the game. But I think Cody Wallace is a serviceable run blocker, and if they run right, that counter play behind DeCastro, Gilbert, and Heath on the right-hand side, I think Williams will have a nice, easy day.
I'm pretty excited to see what the Steelers' run game does against San Francisco this week just because of what they did against Minnesota. If the Steelers can come out and kill the 49ers in this run game, I'm really excited moving forward because then the next week we're going to be getting back Le'Veon Bell, and I expect full systems go at that point. And like I said, I'm just excited to see this run game this week. And I think you're right. D'Angelo Williams and company can get it done.
You know, but I'm excited to see
how
we're going to be able to stop Colin Kaepernick from throwing bullets and sprinting right past Shazier and all these fat dudes on our defense.
Dude played garbage last year. I don't know why you think he's going to come out and play so well.
Yeah, he played real garbage. They went 8-8 like Roethlisberger did the last 3.5 years.
Roethlisberger was in the playoffs last year, so there was no 8-8 here in Pittsburgh.
Well, look, San Francisco's defense played really well in this game, but their offense wasn't that great, man. Colin Kaepernick only had 165 yards passing. He had no touchdowns, and that's against Minnesota's defense. Their secondary is probably a little bit better than the Steelers' secondary, but I think the Steelers are better up front. If you ask me, the one thing the San Francisco 49ers offense did this past week is they ran the ball very well. Carlos Hyde straight dominated this game, had 26 carries for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And I think the Steelers' defense is best at stopping the run. So this is something else I want to see this week is the Steelers' defense going to be able to stop the run, and I think they will be able to stop San Francisco's run and stop Carlos Hyde. And I really think that's why the Steelers should come out ahead in this game, is because if you stop San Francisco's run game, Colin Kaepernick can't beat you by himself.
What's the difference, Easy, between Colin Kaepernick and RG3? Quite honestly.
Well, what's the difference between Colin Kaepernick and Terrell Pryor? Because all I remember is Terrell
Pryor
Pryor running 90 yards down the freaking field and beating Pittsburgh. That's
Terrell Pryor can't hit open receivers, let alone covered
Colin Kaepernick's
receivers.
a little bit better than Terrell Pryor, right?
Yeah, you're right.
If
But
Terrell
Pryor's
beat
not
us,
even
then,
on a football team right now.
Colin Kaepernick can beat us.
And I asked you about RG3, not Terrell Pryor.
Well, you're asking me about a player who ain't even playing right now.
RG3 and Colin Kaepernick are exact same thing, and Terrell Pryor's not even on a team right now. So you gave me an example of a guy who's not even on a team.
I don't think RG3 ever made it to an NFC Championship game before, but
I don't think Colin Kaepernick was a Heisman runner or winner whenever he was in college. So
yeah, that didn't win a Heisman, but he's a starting quarterback now, and RGC ain't.
RG3 is not. I mean, I'm not saying he's good by any means. Don't get me wrong, but the reason he's not starting is because Washington's just
I bet
a
you
mess.
he has I bet you Kaepernick has about 80 yards rushing on Sunday.
Well, Kaepernick's just awful. I think he's one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league.
Well, he did have 41 yards rushing last week, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does get some rushing yards in his game, but I like the Steelers against the run, and I think if they stop the run, they stop the passing game too. The people the Steelers defense has to worry about in the passing game are Vernon Davis, Anquan Bolden, and Turi Smith. Turi Smith is someone that blew up the Steelers a few times with the Baltimore Ravens, so they're going to have to keep an eye on him, but they also did a good job last week of keeping everything in front of them, although they had many other problems in other areas. In fact, just getting the play in seemed like a problem for the Steelers last week, and I expect them to fix that problem as well. Be ready this week. Keith Butler's second game of his career, remember, going up against the defending champions in his first game. His second game is going to be much easier for him going up against Colin Kaepernick, and if they can keep Turi Smith in front of him, it's going to have to be Anquan Bolden and Vernon Davis beating him, and Vernon Davis is a sleeper for me this week. I think he's going to have a decent game, but he's no Rob Gronkowski, and I think the Steelers defense can keep San Francisco in check in this game.
Well, I think the pivotal matchup in this game is actually going to be the Steeler front seven against this San Francisco offensive line, who actually, I might add, actually played a really, really good game against Minnesota.
Absolutely.
They only allowed 1 sack, and of course, you aforementioned that Hyde actually ended up with, 168 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of the success that the Steelers are going to have is going to be based on getting pressure on Kaepernick, and I just want to see what they're going to be able to do, because in my opinion, San Francisco does have the better offensive line than what New England does.
I disagree, 47. I don't think the way to beat Kaepernick is to put a lot of pressure on him. I think the way to beat him is to spy him and don't let him get around the perimeter, and you mix up your coverages and you drop more men into coverage, because he's not great at reading coverage. Early in his career, he had success because he can throw deep and he can run fast. Teams have figured that out. He had a bad year last year.
Everyone's figured that out except for us, though.
Well, listen, I'm not saying he's not going to get yards on the ground easy, but he's not going to beat us with his arm. If the Steelers mix in man coverage with the cover two like they keep saying they're going to, Kaepernick cannot read the difference. He's not good at diagnosing a play before the snap. And if the Steelers do their job like they're supposed to, there's no way he is the determining factor in this game if it's a win. He could lose a game for San Francisco, but he's not going to win the game. If San Francisco wins this game, it's going to be because we couldn't stop Carlos Hyde or because our offense crapped the bed somehow.
Yeah, if you ask me, I think the reason, the one way that the Steelers lose this game is if San Francisco goes out and played like they did last week, and if they can stop D'Angelo Williams in his run game, the Pittsburgh Steelers might have a little bit of trouble putting points up again this week.
I see big plays to Brown all day here. They lost, Patrick Willis, Chris Borland, Ray McDonald, Alden Smith. They signed Darnell Dockett. They got rid of him. They got rid of, they lost Justin Smith. This defense, I know they played a good game. I'm not taking anything away from what they did against Minnesota, but Minnesota's offense is not our offense. Charles Johnson's not Antonio Brown. Teddy Bridgewater's no Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, Adrian Peterson was in there, but like you said, he got the ball, 10 times? There's very few people that can make a difference only getting the ball 10 times. So I think Pittsburgh's offense outmatches San Francisco's defense, and I'm going to tell you right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers win this football game. I don't really see too many ways that they can lose. And I
told you one way they can lose if Kaepernick breaks a 90-yard run right down the middle and score goes up 7-0 right off the bat.
That's not enough to lose that game. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense has to put up 30 points this week. Again,
yeah, easily.
I believe so too. I mean, San Francisco, like I said, their defense looked good last week, but if the Pittsburgh Steelers want to be an elite offense, you got to go out there and put 30 points up on defenses like this.
Easy.
That really is the question to me of whether they win this game or not, because the San Francisco 49ers, they showed it last week. The way that they can win games is keep the ball on the ground and overpower defenses. And I said it again and again. The one thing this Steelers defense that I'm not worried about is stopping the run. And I think they will shut down Carlos Hyde, and that's going to keep Colin Kaepernick and company in check in this game. And they're going to have trouble putting up points. And I'm not going to say it's a complete blowout, but I think the Steelers do win this game pretty easily.
I think this game's over by the end of the third quarter. The offense just plays well at home. The Steelers, I mean, this means nothing because they need to put points on the board, but they had the second most yards, I believe, in the NFL last week. The San Francisco 49ers just can't match up. I just don't see it. Last year, at the beginning of the year, if this was week 2 of last season, before we seen how poor San Francisco played, and then before everything crumbled, Harbaugh left, and all those players we mentioned left, I would have said this would be a really, really tough game. I just don't see it right now. They're not in disarray like the Browns disarray, but San Francisco is definitely in more of a rebuilding mode than a beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at home mode.
Couple things I want to see this week. I want to see Brandon Boykin get in the game. Why is this guy not getting in the game?
I just read today that he's expected to play in the game, possibly even start.
Well, he better. I want to see this guy in the game. Everyone, as soon as we got him, was saying, this is the best corner on the team. And I said, you got to wait a second and see what happens. Let it play out a little bit. And if he is the best corner, he got to be playing on the outside. The best corner can't be playing on the inside against the number 3 receiver unless the number 3 receiver is the best receiver, which doesn't happen most of the time. But on offense, I want to see them get Archer a couple touches at least, too. Do what you said you were going to do this off season. Put it into your plan going into this week. You had all these plans, and you just never showed it last week against the New England Patriots in New England. I know it was a tough matchup and everything, but now it's a little bit easier of a matchup. So show the things you wanted to show Steeler fans this week against San Francisco.
And stay away from dumb trick plays at the wrong times.
At the wrong times, yes. I have no problem with trick plays. But to throw a receiver a football and then expect him to come back into the middle of the field and throw on the opposite side of the field deep, what kind of trick play is that?
It was stupid. Haley's stupid.
Well, see, to me, that's just the play you run whenever you're desperate, whenever you need to get your offense sparked.
They didn't need a spark. They just needed to keep doing what they were doing. Who would you start at corner, Easy? Because we all know the offense is pretty set. I mean, we're not saying that they're going to guarantee go out and put 30 points, but we know who's playing. We know who can be the big playmakers. But on defense, it's still up in the air. And I didn't like Blake starting at outside corner last week, Easy. What do you think?
I think you're just going to see the same lineup as you did as week 1. And then
you think it'll be Blake and Gay on the outside, and then on the nickel, they brought Allen into the game, but they slid Gay into the slot and left Allen on the outside.
They're going to go with what they went with.
Would you rather bring Boykin instead of Allen in?
It all depends on what happens in the first quarter. There's a reason they didn't have him in game 1.
Well, I read earlier today that Boykin not having a full camp with the defense and not exactly knowing everything in the defense led to him not playing last week. So my question to you, Easy and 47, I'm so tired of hearing everybody say it takes long to learn this defense. Why can we just not make it easier for people to learn so that they can come in, play early, and be successful? Why does it have to be so complicated?
Because they're cool. They think they're cool.
Well, truth be told, he's getting paid to cover receivers. So, honestly, if he's better at blanketing the other guy than what Cortez Allen would be, I'm honestly saying start him because I've never been big on Cortez Allen to begin with.
Early reports were Boykin was going to push for a starting job outside and maybe allow Gay to slide inside again, and then hopefully Allen would step up and play. I don't ever see Allen stepping up. Does anybody here in the studio think Allen's really going to become what they thought he would when they gave him the big contract?
No,
I'm not saying he can't play better, but I don't think he's going to live up to that $25 million contract.
He's not going to step up. He's going to fall down, and then he's going to get trampled.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to live up to, but the linebackers can definitely help him out in this game and get to Kaepernick a little bit quicker than they got to Brady last week.
Easy, can Shazir's speed at the middle linebacker position help ease the gap since we've lost Polamalu? Nobody will replace Polamalu, but don't you think that speed over the middle, when it closer to the line of scrimmage, not the deep speed, don't you think Shazir can try to at least be that type of player? Because he showed great speed last week.
You can't compare anything that we're trying to do on defense now with what we did on defense then with Polamalu. It's not. There's no comparison there. Shazier got the speed to cover ground, yes, but it's not like he's going to go jumping over the line and slap Flacco in his face. And
they say he
take the
can,
ball
dude.
to the
I'd
house.
love to see it, but
Nah,
I
that's
agree
not
with
gonna
you.
happen.
I agree with you, man. There's nobody who's Polamalu. Nobody at all. But maybe Shazier shaving off his eyebrows makes him more aerodynamic, and then he'll be able to jump over the line and block a kick.
Well, see,
that's my bold
here's
prediction
the thing.
this week.
I mean, as fast as Shazier is, you can't. All the instincts in the world that Troy brought to the table. You know, he had a nose for the football. He knew how to get there. He knew how to make plays. As fast as Shazier is that speed going to translate into playmaking? Because that's what this defense really needs, and that's actually...
Yeah, I agree. It's looked like it. Now, in the cover 2 defense, I think Shazier has a lot better chance at making a really, really big impact than compared to the 3-4 blitzing defense, because that defense had him doing so much, calling so many plays, moving around. I like Shazier being able to just kind of hang out in the middle of the field, look around, and try to make a play. The linebackers have to be the group to carry the defense this year. They have to be.
Well, we've certainly put enough picks into him over the last several years.
So, Jim, what is your key to victory this week?
Key to victory, as much as I've ragged on Kaepernick, is you got to shut him down. I know back in the day, it was always shut down the running back, force the team to throw, get him in a down and distance, and then you win. The Steelers need to make sure Colin Kaepernick does not beat them on the ground. Just like Easy said, prior, was it the first, second play of the game last year? He called Hut. He basically ran straight. I mean, he didn't even...
That wasn't last year.
He barely even cut. It might have been the year before.
Yeah, a couple years ago, but still, it doesn't matter. It feels like yesterday.
They have to keep him contained. I don't want the Steelers to bring elaborate blitzes against Kaepernick.
Thank you.
Because if they do,
Speak.
Kaepernick will get into the open field and he will make plays with his feet.
He's going to, yeah.
They need to
he's
get
very
pressure.
Capable. He's 100% capable of doing that.
With his feet,
More than
yes.
any other quarterback
in the league.
Besides Russell
starting.
Wilson, maybe, right?
I would take
Whatever.
Kaepernick's athletic ability over Wilson. Wilson might have a better mind and better instincts with his arm.
Mariota, Cam
but
Newton.
There's
you
no
don't
quarterback.
Say Mariota now. He's played one game in the league.
There's
Well, he
no
looks a lot
starting
better than
quarterback.
Kaepernick.
There's no starting quarterback as fast as Colin
What do you
Kaepernick
mean?
right now.
Dude,
No way,
Kaepernick
dude.
has sucked for 17 straight games now.
Are kids are kidding me. Roethlisberger went 8-8 for 3 consecutive years.
2.
Dude goes... It was 3. Dude goes 8-8 1 year, and he's the worst quarterback ever now? I don't understand. He's got a better
He looked
arm than
terrible.
Roethlisberger.
He was terrible last season.
He's got a stronger arm than Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger still looked good when he was going 8-8. Colin Kaepernick looked terrible last season. He didn't look RG3 terrible or anything, but he did not look good at all last season.
I would probably look terrible too if my coach was an a-hole and everyone else was probably on steroids. Who knows? That whole team, the whole team was in disarray last year.
They're in disarray this year.
You're a quarterback trying to hold them together. I wouldn't say they're in disarray. They're 1-0.
They
We're
lost
0-1.
11
They're 1-0
players.
going to an 0-1 team. Who's in disarray in this game?
Can I get back to my
I'd
keys
still
to
say
victory?
the Steelers
Well,
lost.
the
Steelers lost to the New England Patriots, the defending champions.
But I need to elaborate.
The Steelers lost to the defending champions in Week 1, while the San Francisco 49ers went out and beat
Stopped
the
a Hall of Fame
Minnesota
running
Vikings.
back and shut down a Hall of Fame running back who is fresh as
He had
can
10
be.
carries. They didn't even give him a chance because they went behind too early.
Elaborate.
The Steelers need to get pressure with their front 4 and let everybody else cover. I wouldn't play Shazier as a spy the whole season or the whole game, but you got to let your fastest linebacker spy Colin Kaepernick. Nobody in our defensive backfield can. It used to be Polamalu. Do not let Will Allen, who might not even play because he's in concussion protocol. It's got to be Shazier. Shazier's got to watch him. You drop 7 or 8 into coverage. You rush 3 or 4. That's the way to beat Colin Kaepernick and the San Francisco 49ers.
I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. I think the way you beat the San Francisco 49ers and what they showed last week is how they won is with this run game and Carlos Hyde. And I think if you shut down Carlos Hyde, Colin Kaepernick is not good enough to beat you. But that's not my key to victory. My key to victory is on the other side of the ball. Easy, you just mentioned they shut down Adrian Peterson last week. If they can shut down the Steelers' run game and make the Pittsburgh Steelers one-dimensional. I mean, I still expect the Steelers to put up points, but you seen last week when they weren't one-dimensional that they played pretty well in the passing game with Big Ben and Antonio Brown and Heath Miller, and they ran all over New England with D'Angelo Williams, and they still didn't put up points. I think they need to get this run game going, and I think they will, but I think they need to get another game like D'Angelo Williams showed last week against the 49ers and show they can overpower this San Francisco defense.
If the Steelers go one-dimensional and Ben has to throw it, they're still going to win. Ben Roethlisberger at home opener. I don't know what this guy's record in his home opener. I know he lost to Tennessee a few years ago. But, I mean, Ben Roethlisberger versus Colin Kaepernick, I'm picking Ben Roethlisberger every time.
I hear you, man, but we said it for a whole season and one game into this season now. The Steelers' offense, yeah, they're great. They can move the ball down the field, but they got to get the ball in the end zone.
They do a better job of that at home.
Yes, they do, but they need to show it this week.
47, can Darius Hayward-Bay outperform his game from last season? And what is your key to victory?
My key to victory is going to be to score points. 21 points, not going to cut it. We need to be more efficient in the red zone. The play calling needs to be there needs to be more ingenuity in the play calling. No trick plays inside the red zone.
Riddle me this, 47. With our struggles in the red zone, should the Steelers just be trying to score on big plays more often before they even get there? Should they be taking more shots downfield?
You need to be taking your shots downfield.
That's where Brian comes in, though.
That's
why I asked him about DHB, because I'm curious if he thinks Hayward-Bay can get another 2-3 games. He didn't have a terrible game outside of not being in the actual end zone last week.
Well, if he still has that blazing speed and he can run past people, that's fine. But I mean,
Sammy Coates isn't going to dress again, from what I hear, so it's got to be him. He's our deep threat. Antonio Brown can get deep, but we need him to do other things, so it's got to be Hayward-Bay.
They definitely need to be more efficient in the red zone, without question. Because this whole red zone monkey business that they've been running for the last 2 years just isn't going to cut it. I mean, this is a team that wants to win a Super Bowl.
And it's not even necessarily just red zone. They might stall out at the 30 as well and then kick a field goal. But it's a lot of...
It gets worse the closer they get. I don't remember
I'm
the stats
sure it
exactly,
does. I'm just saying it's not necessarily just inside the 20-yard line. But... Anytime they get on their own side of the field, they seem to stall out and have to try for a field goal and then miss that 50% of the time.
They were the worst team inside the 10 last year to score points.
Well, I was actually thinking.
Sad.
I was thinking about something. You know, you see a lot of these other teams, the New England Patriots actually being one of them, that loves to use these multiple tight end sets. That likes.
We just don't have it, man. Well, I mean, they're already thinking
what about Heath? He's the best tight end ever. We can't.
But multiple tight end sets. We only have Heath, dude. They're thinking about cutting Jesse James. He's one of the possible cuts whenever Le'Veon Bell's activated off the suspension list. So all they got is Heath, Spaeth, and then Will Johnson.
To be honest, in my opinion, Heath ain't even really Heath's on the downward, man.
Well, he's definitely not the same player he used to be. But
so when you line up three tight ends, all you have to do is push Heath Miller to the ground when you hit the ball. Then you're down two tight ends.
That's my point. If you can stop Heath, the other tight end's got nothing. He's the only tight end that's got anything left.
I know. That's why they don't do it.
Pushing Heath to the ground.
Oh yeah, you ain't gonna push Heath to the ground. You might be able to keep him from catching the ball, but he will block you into the freaking
Bowman,
turf.
Or who's that? Who come back for San Francisco? He was out all year.
I think it was Bowman. Yeah, the guy who
Bowman can push Heath Miller to the ground. Trust me.
I'll put $1,000 on Heath in every matchup, especially a bare knuckle brawl.
Easy. What's your key to victory?
Same as always. Don't turn the ball over. And don't commit stupid penalties, false starts.
Yeah, that's a big one. The offensive line played well last week, but they did have too many penalties.
We are a better football team than San Francisco on offense and, unfortunately, on defense. We're a better football team unless we beat ourselves. That's it.
What's your prediction for the score, Dash?
I'm gonna go with 27-17.
I'm gonna say 30-21.
Steelers. Easy.
42-20.
Good game by offense and defense.
35-10 Pittsburgh.
35-10. Blowouts here.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I thought I was picking a blowout at 27-17. Everyone's saying we're just going to go manhandle these
Dude,
people.
it's the opening game. The Steelers are pumped up. They're mad after last week after losing the game.
They have to go.
The defense has got to be mad. I mean, come on. We all played sports.
San Francisco's already 1-0. We're 0-1. We can't go 0-2 at home.
If you guys played on a defense, Dash, you played football especially. If you played on a defense that lost, and I'm not saying they lost the game, but made the mistakes that they made, the bad coverages, not knowing the plays, completely leaving guys uncovered, that has got to been eaten at this defense all week long. They're not going to come out and get freaking 5 picks and 10 sacks, but they're not going to let that happen again. Kaepernick's not good enough to complete 19 straight passes. They'll shut him down. Steelers win this game in a wash.
It's easy to say, but it's on Keith Butler. You could see they were not ready last week because they just
That's
did not.
on Tomlin, man. If you
well,
ask me.
It's on the coaches. It's not on the players. In my opinion, you have to look at Keith Butler and Mike Tomlin in that situation and have this team ready. Because, I mean, if you're not ready, if you're talking to a referee when the play, or not a referee, if you're talking to one of your players or looking at the sidelines when one of the plays start and you leave Vernon Davis wide open like you left Rob Gronkowski wide open, I don't care. You could leave anybody wide open like that. And
Except for Lima Sweet.
Except for Lima Sweet, correct. I was actually going to say that. But they'll take it to the house. There's no doubt about it.
Or
You could have the
Emmanuel
best
Sanders.
defense in the world, but if you don't cover someone, you have no chance.
When Emmanuel Sanders was in Pittsburgh, every time he was wide open, he dropped the ball. But that's it. That's all we got for you, folks. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Thank you guys for coming in studio. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread or follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Let us know what your prediction is for the Steeler game. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/betthespread. Big ups to my Steelers Nation group. Keep coming back to YouTube. Click subscribe. Here we go, Steelers. Win this opening game. Let's get it going.
Live at Heinz Field.
Please believe.